even if the video got 3,000 views and 3 comments, if one of those people said, hey, this really changed my life, that is worth everything. And I feel like that is what people should focus on when they think of impact.
So today I'm interviewing a 2-time Emmy-nominated host. She was recognized on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. She's also a content creator, a Streamy Award winner, and was recognized as one of TikTok's top voices of change. Let's welcome Taylor Cassidy.
Hi.
Taylor, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
You're good?
I feel good.
Okay, good. Happy Wednesday.
Thank you.
You are such a force on and off the internet, and I think there's really a lot that our viewers can learn from your journey. So you're from St. Louis, Missouri. You grew up in an African-American household where your parents really stressed the importance of learning Black history, right? So do you feel like your interest in Black history and culture came from your own curiosity, or do you feel like you were heavily influenced by your parents?
It was definitely both. Without a doubt, both. Whenever I was little, it was not unusual to like be in the car going home, and if we wanted like McDonald's or something, my mom would be like, okay, well, who was the first Black pilot? And we'd have to answer correctly in order to get that treat. But I think where my curiosity really started to take on a life of its own aside from my parents' teaching was from the movies we would watch about Black history, just because I love storytelling. I'm in film now. And also just, being in school and feeling that stark contrast between being at home where Black life was celebrated and then being in school where it was delegated to like only slavery. So that's where I put my own definition upon it and kind of took it upon myself to be like, all right, this is something that I want to keep going. This is something that I want to make a priority in my life and not just have it be a priority because my parents said so,
And something that you're also passionate about. What is your earliest memory of learning Black history when you were younger?
That's a good question. Let me think. Man. You know what? It was probably nights I would have been in about maybe like 2nd grade. We would spend every weekend slowly watching through the series Roots. Like we had Roots on DVD, like all the DVDs. And every weekend, us as a family would like sit on my mom's bed and we just watch through each episode. And throughout the episode, my mom would pause it and teach us what something was. We would ask questions. And she would literally just use this piece of media to teach us about our history. And then it was just also a great show.
Yeah. I love that. It's true that media can really be a source of education for kids.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that you felt dissatisfied with the fact that the only Black history that was taught in schools was about slavery. So what is something that you wish were taught in schools that we weren't?
I want all the fun stuff. Like I will never forget from school that Eli Whitney was the inventor of the cotton gin. Like, that's such a random fact.
Right?
Just a random white man creating the cotton gin. Yeah. But, like, I know so many people who remember that fact. I want to know who was the original creator of the light bulb. I want them to teach that in school. Just small facts like that so that people know that Black history isn't just delegated to our suffering. We were still thriving even in the midst of all of that. I want it to be not just diverse, but have depth within each unit that they teach in history. I want to know about Black people during World War I. I want to know about Black people who protested along with people who protested the Vietnam War. I want to know about all of that. Yeah. I feel like it deserves to be integrated instead of just delegated to one unit,
Absolutely. So in 2019, you began making TikToks. And from then on, you started creating different content meant to highlight important, significant Black figures in history and also in the present. So what were you trying to achieve with your platform and your content, taking into account the racial turmoil that unfolded in 2020?
Ooh. Well, before the summer of 2020, whenever Black Lives Matter protests were becoming on an even larger scale, because they were happening before, but on an even larger scale, I was creating Black history videos. And before the pandemic and everything, I made it my mission on my account to spread joy and education. Like, I wrote that down in a journal, like joy and education were the two things that I really wanted to make the theme of my account. So it's honestly been built upon those two things since the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. And things have changed a lot since 2020, right? Like, I feel like people have become more woke. People are more aware of the systemic issues that Black people in America face. So do you feel like your content is as important now as it was 4 years ago? And how do you feel like your page has evolved since then?
Not to toot my own horn, but yes. And I think my videos are still important to this day, not just because, I don't say it because of me, but I say it because of the content within them.
Yep.
And a lot of these videos, dress up as the figure, but I'll still be sharing facts about their life that are still relevant to this day, problems that are still happening to this day. And I still get comments on videos all the way back from 2020 about people who never learned it before, or they're using it for a school project. So things like that are signs to me that things like this are still needed. Yeah. And to answer your question about how it's evolved, I think my content hasn't just evolved in terms of, quality and craft and just, visually and how I tell the story. But I think also in mission, I think my intentions are clearer. I think I'm able to, yes, share facts about a figure, but also show their humanity better. And that makes it more fun for me, and I think it helps the audience relate to them a lot better.
You mentioned people using your videos for like school projects and stuff, and I think kids these days are so lucky because they have resources like your platform to learn the Black history that is not being taught in schools. But at the same time, there is a lot of discourse about limiting the ways in which race is taught to students in school. So moving forward, do you think that media and digital platforms will play a bigger role in the teaching and the advocacy of Black history?
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, if you asked me that question in 2020,
you would
imagine how that would have come true to now, And I've had that question asked to me before, and I say that I do believe that is going to happen because it will be a necessity, but I don't think that should have to be done. I think that the things that people teach online should already be taught in school by professionals who literally go to school to be teachers. People get upset because they're like, oh, you might be spreading misinformation. Oh, these facts are wrong. Oh, we don't believe in this. Okay, that's because you're getting it from the internet with unlicensed professionals who are trying to fill a gap that the government should be, So I think it is wonderful that people are sharing education, sharing as much as their expertise as they can, like myself. I don't have a degree in history. Like, I'm doing this off of the seat of my pants. But I think it should be done by professionals who know how to do this even more effectively than maybe a random person off the internet could, But until then, it is wonderful that people are sharing what they can.
Yeah, that's so important. So in 2021, you signed with WME, William Morris Endeavor, which is one of the top talent agencies in the world. How do you feel like this changed the trajectory of your career?
Completely. Whenever I signed with them, I didn't know who they were.
That's so funny.
I didn't know who they were. I was 17 in the Midwest.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know nothing about agencies, managers, none of that. And I first got with my manager, and she's the one who connected me with them. And so I remember in the meeting, now looking back at it now, I remember the meeting. They were trying to reassure me that they were trying to convince me to be part of the agency, but I was so afraid because I was like, oh no, like, this is an audition. this is a test.
No, girl, they want you.
Yeah. So
they're auditioning for you.
yes. So literally afterward, I had like a breakdown. I was like, oh no, like I messed it up. But like, you know, everything worked out. And from there, WME has honestly listened so much to what I believe in and what I want. They have never forced me to do anything that I didn't want to do. They have never like tried to convince me to do something that was like crazy.
Yeah.
It has honestly opened my eyes a lot into what can be done with, you know, the jobs you get, the brand offers that you get, what can be done for good, and how you can put more of your identity into that. And I think the WME helped ease me into this industry and ease me away from the fears that I had just of the unknown. So they've helped my career tremendously.
Yeah, no, it seems like a lot of your bigger opportunities came about after you got signed.
Yeah.
So how did you become a host for TikTok radio, and what did that job require from you?
Yeah, so also in about later 2020, I made an online talk show called Black Girl Magic Minute, and where the purpose of it was uplifting Black creators, because at the time, and honestly still now, their dances, trends, music was being used by white creators but not credited to them, and then those white creators started making money off of it. And so the purpose of that show was to put the spotlight back on these Black creators, specifically Black women, because Black women were the ones who were mostly creating the trends, Black Girl Magic Minute. And so that went on for about a couple months. And from that success, TikTok reached out to me to bring those hosting abilities to their new radio channel that they were having with SiriusXM. So with that job, my like assignments were to record voice breaks 2 times a week that would play in between songs on the radio, and also interview artists that would come through, do press for them, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I was with them for 3 years.
Yeah, I love that. I saw your interview with Tiffany Haddish. It was really, really good. So as a fellow host, sometimes I think people underestimate the work that goes into crafting an interview and having, you know, a smooth and effective conversation that serves a purpose and that simultaneously entertains people, right? Like, it's not as easy as it seems. And I do think some people naturally have great conversational skills and like the gift of gab. But I also think that leading a great conversation is a skill that can be cultivated. So what strategies do you use to prepare for your interviews or just to go on camera in general?
A lot of prep. Research. I try to find where they went to high school. I try to find like who their best friends were on Facebook. Like, so much prep, and not even so that I can use all of it in the interview, but so that I go into it feeling prepared. Because I feel like the more prepared I feel, the more I can be myself with the other person, and I don't have to worry about forgetting a fact or forgetting a question. I also literally interview the air a lot before an interview, right? Like, I literally sit and I will practice the interview with nobody there. The ghosts, the ancestors around me, like, yes, baby, like, yes, you're doing great.
No, seriously, I do the same thing. And it's so necessary to like say it out loud, to speak it out loud before you get into that environment. It's really, really helpful. Do you have any other strategies that you use?
Let me think. I'll interview my friends, like, with the same questions. I will literally, it's honestly the same thing, running that interview over and over and over until you get into the room, until it becomes like looking at your right hand, just so that when you're there, you can truly be yourself and let curiosity flow with the conversation, instead of like, all right, I gotta make sure I get this memorization perfect.
Yes. And you talked about just being yourself in an interview. Something that I struggle with as a host is finding that balance between like the preparation and the planning and the flexibility that is required to just have a natural conversation with another person. So do you have any tips on that?
Just do it a lot. Do it a lot. And I wish I had better like advice, but the first person that I got to interview was June Ambrose, who was the creative director of Puma for a little bit. And even though the interview went really smooth, I was so scared out of my mind. I was so self-critical of myself all throughout, and I felt really rigid. And honestly, the past few months, it has been like the first time where I've actually been like, all right, wait, like I feel like I have my groove.
Yeah.
So I feel like my advice is just do it a lot, and take it into every conversation that you have, like with the barista. Interview the barista. Notice how the ebb and flow goes. Interview your friends. Like if you were talking to your friend, go into interview mode for a little bit. You know,
No,
everywhere
that's so
is practice.
true. And I think you bring up a good point because this advice is so universal, like just for conversations in general. Like I love to watch or to read about art and artists and just like the artistic process. And sometimes I will find myself relating to it so much, even though like some people might not consider us artists. But the more I get into it, the more I realize that having a conversation really is an art, you know, because it takes you merging so many different elements. And it really does require creativity to like talk to someone that you don't know. Because, you know, whether it's through like exploring complex topics or like weaving in humor, like using like, you know, play on words, it's very, very interesting. And I feel like you're really good at that. So what do you think makes a conversation interesting and engaging for two people?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What makes a conversation engaging for two people?
And interesting. Yeah.
Stories. If you can get the person to tell you a story and be really descriptive with it, that can make things wonderful because it draws the audience in and it puts them into their world. What I try to do is make it so that the person watching can feel like they are me in a sense. So the questions I ask, I want it to be questions that they would ask. You know, like, what was your first kiss like?
Yeah.
What were you like in high school? Those are the questions I would like to know from a celebrity, right? Or like somebody I'm interviewing. And if they can tell me that story, it's like I'm learning from a friend. You know, I'm kikiing with a friend.
Right.
So stories, getting their favorite things about life, their values. If I can get their values out of life,
Like getting deep.
Yes, that I feel like that's what keeps me in, and I've seen that's what usually what keeps other people in.
Yeah, because people reciprocate and can feel that. I'm also a huge fan of your YouTube channel. I think that video essays are so important for our generation, and like the work that you put into them does not go unnoticed, truly.
Thank you.
And I really love the one about beauty supplies because I watched it and I realized like, dang, as many beauty supplies as I've been to, I have never seen one that's Black owned. And it's crazy because our faces are all over them, just like you said, and we are their main customers.
Yeah.
But we have no control over the distribution of these products, which is crazy. So what would you say was the main takeaway that you wanted to be from this video?
Well, first I wanted people to gain a better understanding of the Black history behind beauty supplies. And I also just wanted them to come away with a bigger sense of pride that even though that issue exists, it doesn't have to stay there. You know, there are Black-owned beauty supplies and there are people working to change the industry. That's something with many of my videos. I like presenting issues that are in society, but like I want you to leave knowing that there are people working to fix this.
Yeah. And on a positive note.
You say again?
Ended on a positive note. Yeah.
Exactly. That's something that I've seen with commentary and video essays. I love them, but I feel like on YouTube they become a little tabloidy. Yes. And when I watch them, I feel like
a little
down.
Scary. Exactly. I had the same exact thoughts when I was watching your video. I was like, I've never watched a video essay where I walk away from it feeling like positive. Like I'm usually scared after watching a video essay.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's this line that I have in one of my videos where like I'm telling Black history and there's a lot of Black trauma that I'm sharing. Yeah. And I say, wow, I'm kind of tired of intellectualizing my own existence. Because I feel like that's kind of the theme with every videos that I do. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you this information, but I need you to remember like life can still be good. Yeah. You know, you can still change things and you can still have pride in yourself and confidence in yourself. So I guess that's the main theme, along with the beauty supply video, that I want people to take away.
Definitely. Just like you said before, spreading joy and education was always your goal. So you also gave a really good TED Talk that I also enjoyed on why going viral on social media might not actually have the impact on the world that you think it does. And this was really shocking coming from you, a creator who I think, you know, your content is just objectively impactful and important, right? So can you walk me through why you believe this?
Well, I initially, whenever I was creating my Black History videos, I was 17, still in high school, and I had never been surrounded by the entertainment world. I didn't know anybody in it. I didn't know any like family members or anybody in entertainment, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So my idea of success was going viral, and whether I realized it or not, my idea of being worthy, of being successful, was attention. And because of that, even with the videos I was creating about Black history, I believed in the message, I believed in the mission. But if certain videos didn't go viral, I would have doubts and be like, well, did I do the mission good enough? Like, was the mission important enough? Was my message good enough? And I would just have those kind of questions. And so because of that, I would start to make videos to try and appeal more to the masses. I would try to get more likes, more views, and for a time it did work. But I look back on those videos knowing that my intention and my desire for what I wanted from that video had nothing to do with the message at all. It was for success, which meant attention. And usually whenever that happens, you can look straight in the comments. It's spam. It's people misinterpreting the message. It's people commenting on the things you did for views instead of what should have been the message in the first place. And so while you can get loads and loads and loads of attention, 21 million views, oh my gosh, she's getting all the brand deals because of the views. What are people walking away from your video with? Are they walking away with, wow, she went so viral? Are they walking away with, hey, I can bring this into my community, or hey, I can bring this into my self-growth routine, or something like that? Even if the video got 3,000 views and 3 comments, if one of those people said, hey, this really changed my life, I've been going through a depressive episode and I'm going to do this tomorrow, that is worth everything. And I feel like that is what people should focus on when they think of impact. One person first.
I love that. No, that's a really important message that I think a lot of people need to hear right now, because I think a lot of people who are entering this creative space and entering the social media world are doing it with mercenary motives, with money in mind, or with attention in mind. And, you know, I even go back and forth with myself about this. Like, is it really that deep? Like, does all of my content have to be meaningful? But it really is that deep. At least to me, I think quality over quantity. Like, quality is so much more satisfying and so much more effective than quantity. And patience is a virtue, you know, one that our generation really needs a little bit more of. And I think that speech really touched on that, and on just, you know, making content that is true to you. Because when you're sharing parts of yourself with the world, it's so important to be authentic and to do something real and to do something for a reason. Yeah. So to close out this interview, what advice would you give to other young creators who want to start their own initiatives and who want to make a difference in their communities?
I say this every time. Start with what you have. Oh, is this where I just
Hey.
start with what you have? It's so easy to think like, oh, I need a following first, oh, I need an audience first, I need all this equipment first. But you don't need any of that. All you need is a mission and an intention, and you will find a way. My mom always says your talent will make room for you. And I believe that to my core. If you have the drive, you'll find a way. So start with what you have and just start. Start from somewhere.
Yep. I love that, because that's the advice that so many people who come in here give, is like, just start. It's like, it sounds so simple. It's not as simple as it is, but at the same time, it really is the key.
Right.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you. This is good.
I appreciate you. It was really good. Thank you for watching this episode of How She Did It. Make sure to check the description to tap in with us on social media. And as always, tune in next week for another episode.